How's it going, everybody? My name is Antonio, and today I have James Sykes on the barbecue, and I am grilling him about his other company this time. So this time it's not baseload, but it's Metal Energy, because he's just picked up a large, what is it, almost 1,000 square kilometers of projects, a lithium brine project in Ontario, next to their already existing project, not next to geographically, but they also have a nickel project. And I know less than nothing about your lithium, so I hope I don't end up drilling myself instead of drilling James here. But you should also know that, fear disclaimer and honest confession, I work for Baseload, so James is basically my boss here. But I also own shares of Baseload, so I guess I'm James. I'm kind of your boss too, right? In a way. So both ways, but both ways we have a financial relationship. There's a lot of bias here. People should know that. So unless you like losing money, don't blindly listen to anybody on the internet. Do your own research. Go to SETI, go to setar.com, because this conversation will be general and impersonal in nature, and it's going to be one that will include mostly forward-looking statements and expressions of hopes and dreams, I guess. So that said, James, you did an overview on your own already. Congratulations for doing so much content. I think more companies should be doing that. So I'd suggest people go to that first. It's like a half an hour geological explanation. So go there and listen to it. But I also just told people not to listen to me about what they should do. So why don't you just give me the elevator pitch? What is your sort of deposit motto? What are you looking for there? And what are important geological factors, I guess, that you need to have in place there to make it work?
Well, now that we've just confused everybody, do we invest? Do we not invest? Do we listen? Do we not listen? It's a big project, man. SourceRock, very excited about it. That's the name of the project, SourceRock. It's a lithium brine concept, which is pretty common in the world nowadays, but we're looking at one that is very old, ancient, billions of years old. So it's not one of these things that forms recently, and there's a good opportunity that exists with older rocks, in that it allows more time for fluids to interact with the sedimentary rocks that are there and the host rocks, so any basement rocks around the area. That's kind of important because if you've got lithium within the sediments, if you've got lithium within the basement rocks right adjacent to the sediments, then your fluids are scavenging that, because lithium loves to be in fluid. Any lithium bearing mineral is easy to alter, it's easy to weather. And that means, so as that happens, that would release lithium. And again, lithium loves to be in a fluid more than it does into a mineral environment. So it will stay in that fluid preferentially until circumstances change to precipitate that out of the fluid.
So
SourceRock's a big project. No one's really investigated this concept. It's up in the Thunder Bay area. Infrastructure's there. As you said, it's about 1,000 square kilometers. So this is huge. This is about the same size as Salar de Atacama's main central salt belt, and about a quarter of that salar is where the brine production coming from, and that brine production in the salar is the second largest lithium producer in the world. So if we've got something of comparable size and opportunity, we could potentially have a deposit of global significance on our hands. And being in Ontario is a freaking fantastic place to be.
Yeah. No, I get that. But so you're talking about, so this would be a concordant ore body, if there is an ore body there, sedimentary host, because it's in a basin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How old would that be?
The sediments were deposited anywhere from 1.6 to 1.1 billion years ago. Old. Geological time scale, it was about a week ago. But these are the type of rocks we're working in. Again, just that billion-year longevity, it just provides more opportunity to scavenge more lithium and increase it into the brine situation.
What kind of work has been done on the deposit in the last 1.8 billion years?
A lot of natural ground setting.
Sure.
A lot of faulting. So there are faults that go through the area, and we know that some of those brines have migrated down into the Archean basement rocks below, which is pretty cool when you see halite veins and sylvite veins being formed 200 meters beneath the sedimentary contact. That's, you've got a huge system on your hands. Like, there's a lot of brine. There's been a lot of interaction. And I guess more recently, so the area was probably drilled by us humans and since the 1950s, so skipping a few billion years, unfortunately. And it was originally prospective for nickel, copper, cobalt, PGEs, because that's the whole Thunder Bay area. We've got the Mid-Continent Rift in the area, which is famous for a few deposits, but also some of the mantle plume magmatism that went up and formed Lac des Îles, which is west of our project, pretty, not too far west. So we've seen a lot of that Mid-Continent Rift system, and that's why that area was prospective. And then because it is a basin, and knowing how famous the Athabasca is, people started exploring the area for uranium. There are uranium showings pretty close to the project, and they can get up to 1%. Little veinlets, they don't really add up to much. But as far as uranium prospectivity in the Sibley Basin itself, there has never been a discovery in there, and there hasn't been any. Like I've seen some of the drill hole data, and there's really no pathfinders for uranium either. So is it prospective for uranium? There's still a chance there, but not really. And I can differentiate that from the Athabasca in one very simple concept. In the Athabasca, all of our main uranium deposits are all basically, they follow the trend. So if your trend's like this, all of your deposits are boop, 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 they're along the trend. And then you have a subparallel trend, and same thing. They follow the trends very nicely. The Sibley Basin, so if we're looking at the Sibley Basin, we've got the Quetico Archean rocks, which are like this, but the Sibley Basin comes in like this, complete crust structure. When we're talking about fluids migrating and scavenging and things, well, that's what happens in faulted environments. So when you get a system that comes in this way, you're going to be scavenging rocks from here, down here, down here, and a little bit from in here, and down here, down here, down here. So you're not getting the same system, whereas if you'd be scavenging rocks from all along this, to create a massive uranium deposits. Potential's still there. I'm not going to say it's highly potential, but on the lithium front, because we switched around the concept, we're not looking for uranium on this trend. Now we're looking for lithium, and the Quetico subprovince that we are in is a lithium-bearing horizon. So now we've got lithium all the way along this trend. We've got our crust structure coming through here that deposits all of these sediments, and it was just the timing of things way back when, billions of years ago. Very arid climate. We know that because we see evaporate sequences. So what an evaporate sequence is, if picture the Mediterranean. A lot of people don't realize there's salt underneath the Mediterranean. There are potash deposits, maybe little, I don't know how big they are, but like probably thin beds. But the Mediterranean used to be pretty dry because at Gibraltar, everything kind of closed off and the Atlantic Ocean wasn't flowing in. So as that salt water evaporates, the salt stays in the water and the water leaves. So as that evaporates, your salt concentrates more and more and more and more. And if there's potassium in there or lithium in there, they will stay in the fluid for as long as possible. Once the fluid's basically all gone, then salt starts to form. Salt forms a bed. And then potassium and lithium, which would rather stay in fluid, would stay in fluid, and then they will eventually get precipitated out. And then the water came back in and flooded up the Mediterranean. So that's why you guys don't see all the salt down there. But that's the same concept that was happening in the Sibley Basin for 500 million years plus. Maybe not that long, because it's the lower sequence of the Sibley that has the predominant salts and anhydrites. So anhydrite being calcium, magnesium, sulfates. And there are carbonates in the rocks too. So the whole evaporate sequence really works nicely. But yeah, it's that lower part of the Sibley Basin that we know had the right geological environment to precipitate out halite beds. And we've seen halite beds in the core, historic core. So everything is there. Potential is there for lithium. No one's ever sampled for lithium, and that's the unfortunate, or lithium in the brine. They've sampled the rocks. They've seen lithium in the basement rocks. They've seen lithium in the samples, in the sedimentary samples, which is really good because I have a feeling I know where that lithium could be coming from. If it's a fluid created mineral, then that means our fluids are going to be rich in lithium. But if it's a detrital lithium, then, well, not as bad. But if you've got detrital lithium and hasn't been fully scavenged, then what's the possibility of having lithium in the brines? So that's a super saturated solution. We can get into that. Good old chemistry, fun stuff. Now I feel like I'm rambling.
But there's no, like, between the 50s and now, there hasn't been any modern exploration done.
Nothing
How
major,
come?
no.
I mean, I look at the staked ground. You were able to stake almost 1,000 square kilometers almost overnight, and nobody else did it. There's almost nobody around you. How come? I mean, what's going on? Lithium has gone through, price of lithium has gone crazy. Everybody was picking projects, calling them Corvette and not Corvette and whatever, some shenanigans. And then nobody thought to look for lithium there. How come?
Good question. I honestly can't answer for the rest of the people. Funny enough, we were actually looking for lithium brine project, more so in Saskatchewan, to follow up with similar type of idea of E3 and some of the other players looking at lithium in some of the sedimentary horizons in the Great Western Sedimentary Basin, where the Williston Basin is, some people call it. But yeah, it's a lot of focus on hard rock, because I think one of the issues with lithium brines is that there's really no commercial production from a lithium brine outside of Chile or outside of the lithium triangle in South America, where they've got natural conditions for, like, it's an arid environment. They bring the fluid up to surface, they let it evaporate in evaporation ponds, and there you go. Nobody's really done anything like that outside of South America. Maybe the Chinese have, but so that requires the rest of the world to develop something new. And a lot of that process is looking at direct lithium extraction technology. So DLE theory's been around for a good 20 plus years. The whole theory's been around for other elements too, like ISR for uranium. You recover uranium in a fluid situation, you bring it up to surface, and you convert it into a solid. Similar type of process in the rare earth industry. You've got 17 elements that all have very similar characteristics, physical characteristics and chemical characteristics, that to separate them requires a lot of work and a lot of processing. But again, it's that same type of area. It can be done, just hasn't been done to a commercial scale yet. So I've even thought of the idea, especially with this project, is, geez, let's just build a huge greenhouse. Not even a huge greenhouse. Just build a greenhouse. We can evaporate things during the winter time.
Okay, but does Ontario want you to do that? Like, maybe is it maybe a permitting issue why people are not doing huge ponds in Ontario?
I don't know. I really don't know. Well, they're allowing big open pits to go forward.
Like what?
Well, some of the mines that are proposed in the future are near surface, and just dig them out of the ground.
Okay, that'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see Canada moving in that direction. I think they eventually will just have to face reality and do it. What is the goal for you specifically, though? Prove something up, find someone to buy it, sell it, move on to the next thing, or do you want to be working on this yourself?
Before I really answer that, just want to say that Canada is very supportive of the lithium industry, especially in Ontario. Like, they have supported 3 lithium companies on the back end of things, looking at the whole extraction production side of things. So Canada is very supportive. They realize that we could be a critical element champion in the world. So for us, kind of realizing that as well, getting into the lithium game, we want to advance it on our own, preferably take it as far as we can, but we're not going to say no if we feel the right partner really comes along and says, hey, look, we can help this. We want to be part of it. Then we'll sit down and talk, and we're definitely open for discussions. But preferably for us and our shareholders, we would want to move this as on our own for as long as possible and as quickly as possible. It's really trying to get some value out of this. Like, we think this is highly prospective. We think this is a game changer. If
Hmm.
we prove our thesis is correct and there's lithium in the brines, I think we're all going to be laughing all the way.
Yeah. No. What do you? What kind of infrastructure do you have to be able to do that? It seems like there's a highway of sorts. I'm looking at the map, crossing the not crossing, but close to the southern part of your project there. What else? Electricity, other roads. What's there?
Everything's there.
Hmm.
Everything is there, which is great. So the Trans Canada Highway is just south of the project. There are a number of highways that shoot north from there, so we've got great accessibility. Thunder Bay, which is the mining hub of Northern Ontario, is about 80 kilometers southwest of the project. The natural gas line, which kind of runs parallel to the Trans Canada Highway, runs right through the project. Power line is right there on multiple occasions. The seaport's right at Thunder Bay. There's airstrips there, labor force, Thunder Bay, Nipigon, surrounding areas. This is the right area for a globally, well, for a global project to really move forward.
Well,
It's got everything we need.
you're mentioning Nipigon, Lake Nipigon, I assume. Well, but you're almost mentioning it as if it's a pro, isn't it? Is it a pro or is it a con?
Nipigon, the town.
Oh, okay.
There's a small little town just south of the lake, and it's right
Sure.
on Trans Canada. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Well,
yeah, the Nipigon Lake itself, it's well, you kind of never want to disturb lake. Fortunately enough, our claims are not really covering the lake, and we have no intention of kind of working right next door to the lake. Most of our targets are removed from a considerable distance from the lake, so we're happy with that. But obviously, talking with groups in the area and stakeholders, we'll address any immediate concerns that they might have with us being in this area and close to the lake to begin with. The area was drilled, like the project and closest parts of the project were drilled as recent as 2007 for uranium.
hmm.
So that was what, 15 years ago. So there's good reason to believe that we can go back and do the same thing.
So you want to say First Nations there would know exploration? Maybe the older people in the community would know exploration. How many First Nations are you dealing with, to your knowledge?
The five of them.
Five of them. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what's sort of a
The three
timeline?
First Nations, sorry, three First Nations, two Métis, and yeah, we're just keeping everybody appraised of what we're doing. Timeline for consultation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as soon as we staked the project, the very next day we sent out introductory emails to all of the Indigenous communities. So and we've received replies from them all. So now we're just following up with the next steps, just further introductions saying, here's our land package, here are our claims for them to verify, and then to set up meetings in hopefully within July. Really start addressing any concerns that local people have. We, to be very transparent, we do have an exclusion period for exploration on the project from September to November 30th. So 3 months. And that's due to moose hunting season in the area. We can get around that if the Indigenous groups agree to allow us to drill a hole with during that time frame. But that comes up to communications, and we look forward to seeing what we can bring to the table for the Indigenous communities and for what their concerns are and what they can also bring to the table. We hope that it's going to be a nice mutual and very beneficial working collaboration between us and the communities in the area.
What if they don't let you drill during the moose hunting season, September to, what did you say, November?
November 30th. Then we've got December. We pop it. Really, all we need is one drill hole to prove our theory. And we can get that done before December, right before Christmas. Great way to end the year. So we've got time. We've got time.
How much money is that going to cost you?
That shouldn't be too much for one drill hole. We're going down 1,000 meters, less than $500,000 for sure.
Less than $500,000, because in the Athabasca you're paying $500 to $600 a meter, so 1,000 meters.
We've got a helicopter. soon as you add a helicopter, you're adding at least 33% to your budget.
Oh, wow. Okay, a third. So this is cheaper than the Athabasca then.
Yeah, everything's road accessible. So yeah, you just pull the drill right in, spud it down.
Okay. So $500,000 on that, give or take. You have what, 1.8 million in the bank now?
Yep.
Okay. So 1.3 is left for G&A and hopefully Manibridge.
Hopefully Manibridge. Well, with that 1.3, that's all hard dollars. There's no flow through commitment, so it's really hard for us to push that forward. Like to drill off SourceRock for one drill hole. I think no, we're in a good position. We're fully capitalized to do that without going back to the market and diluting ourselves for one drill hole. We can get. I'm sure that our results can get share price higher to allow us to go back and then raise more money at much higher value to consider more drilling on SourceRock as well as Manibridge. But Manibridge also requires the nickel market to really start performing and the investment community to get behind nickel.
Sure, it'd also be nice if you actually find, if you actually find something at SourceRock and then go to market in the beginning of next year, because then you can do flow through and then you have plenty of time to spend that flow through. That'd be nice, I guess.
Yep. Yep. And if we do a raise next year, then that flow through is actually good until the end of 2025, not 2024. So it gives us 2 years. Yeah. Plenty of time.
Exactly. But is that what you're aiming for, or do you think you're going to need money sooner?
I really want to see SourceRock go. So I would love to get a drill hole into SourceRock before December. I'd love to see results. Again, my fingers are crossed. I feel very confident that we've got the tiger by the tail on this. Maybe that's not the right thing to say in today's world. Maybe we've got the right project and the right results will come out of this. So yeah, so the quicker we can get that done, quicker we can hopefully get that share price moving again and go back to the market. Even if we went back to the market by the end of this year, wouldn't be a bad thing. But everything's all about let's hit this hard, let's hit this fast. Better to succeed quickly than to fail over a long time.
Sure, yeah. But at 5 cents and under 5 million market cap, that's no, I mean, it feels weird to me. Almost 2 million in cash, 5 million markets, 3 million. If you have to raise at that, it just feels weird to me. But
oh yeah, absolutely, I agree. Which is why we're not really pushing for a raise right now. Like I said, we're capitalized. We're capitalized with hard dollars to complete a single proof of concept drill hole at SourceRock that we feel will be the ultimate game changer.
Sure. Talk to me about why lithium now. I mean, for some people, it might seem like it's sort of a flavor of the day type of move, chasing lithium after the price has moved. Well, so yeah, trying to convince me that that's not the case.
Actually, pretty easy. Do you know what the major mineral there is? It's actually sodium, and I'm very bullish on sodium. I've been following the battery space for years now. I've got to tour a plant in Korea, and I was blown away that while the whole market only knew batteries as nickel, the nickel cobalt batteries, they were already working on LFPs, and they were 2 years on it. The LFP wasn't even mentioned in the marketplace by that time. So the battery space is always 2 years ahead of what we're seeing in the market. And now that we're hearing about the Chinese battery firms producing sodium batteries, this is a big game changer. This is a huge game changer. So we've got a lot of sodium potential. Lithium's not going to go anywhere. You know, lithium batteries have been around for how many decades now? It's pretty crazy. Like, rechargeable lithium batteries are not new. They're new in the scope of being in electric vehicles and powering these larger objects, more so than our old Walkmans or things like that.
Yeah.
But lithium batteries have been around for quite a while. They're not going to disappear anytime soon. But as the crunch comes down globally to try to source as much lithium for what the demand is calling for, there's no way. So we'll, I guess the OEMs will have to segue from that, and they're already showing that, geez, you know, sodium's the next big potential because there's more of it. It's easier to find, And that's where we think that not only is the lithium potential at SourceRock extremely high because the value is there, but as a safe fallback, we've got lots of sodium, and we know that. So as an example, I kind of mentioned earlier about supercritical fluids, and this is the high school chemist coming out in me. Most people don't know what a supercritical fluid is, not or supersaturated fluids. And you can do this at home. You take a pot, throw water in it, and you just keep dumping sugar in, but not constant. And you boil that water, and you keep trying to dissolve the sugar. At some point, you're going to reach a level where you just can't dissolve any more sugar, and it will stay as a solid, whereas all the rest is evaporated. That is supersaturated. That means your water cannot accept any more sugar. We have salt beds still intact down in the basement rocks at SourceRock, or not basement rocks, sorry, the lower sedimentary rocks. We've still got salt beds intact. So if the brines were lacking salt, they would have dissolved that salt. But that salt's still there. So that means that brine is supersaturated with salt already, that it can't take any more sodium chloride. And we know that basically for a fact, because when reading these old drill reports and you read about the drill rods coming up being encrusted in salt, or the core coming out, and then within minutes you're forming salt crystals on there. That means those fluids are just so saturated with salt, it is crazy. So there's our, lithium is our go-to fallback sodium.
Okay, well, that's interesting. It's an interesting way to put it. I think lithium batteries.
We didn't jump into this blindly. Let's just put it that way. We loved what we saw. We saw the potential. We see forward-looking potential with this.
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out, because you're you get very passionate about the geology. You're an explorationist. Sort of what you did with Next Gen was also you found, drilled the hole, found something, and you left pretty much what it was because you weren't interested in pretty much what's happening right now. But that's not the topic of today. But I was trying to figure out, is this a geological thesis move, or are you chasing a specific market? And as long as it's a geology, I'm happy with that. So
it's definitely a geological move. Geological move with the market, though. You can't be an exploration without playing the market. You just can't.
Sure. No, I mean, you do want a higher price, of course. Yeah, and you want something that's attractive. I do understand that. So I think lithium batteries have, by the way, been longer around than you have, because they came around in the 70s, like 75-ish. So
yeah. Much longer than me then, for sure.
Yeah. Well, but so
I don't feel so old, thanks.
I understand why you're approaching this now in terms of geology, in terms of the lithium sector, but why now in the company's stance? I mean, it seemed to me like you had your hands full with the nickel project already. You were hitting nickel on pretty much every hole, if I'm not mistaken. Looked promising, money in the bank. So what do you need this project for now? And does this mean that you're gonna sort of park your focus for Manibridge and focus solely on SourceRock?
No, it does not mean that we're going to park Manibridge. For the short term, yes. Because again, there was just no love in the nickel space. As you mentioned, all of our holes hit nickel. It was a complete success. The drill program we did last year, amazing success, 100% intersection success rate. We defined a lot of nickel mineralization. Some of our intercepts were some of the best throughout all of 2022. And it was consistent mineralization. So very happy with Manibridge. Unfortunately, it didn't get the market excited, and we're at the share price that we kind of fell down to 3 cents, just based off Manibridge. So when the market turns around for that, yes, Manibridge is there. Fortunately enough, we put in $4.5 million into the project last year, and that will keep it in good standing for a number of years. So theoretically, we don't have to touch that for a few years now, which is great, and that gives time for everything to come back. Because again, nickel's seeing a resurgence in new battery applications. So the battery space is on steroids. I've never seen anything like it. Every 2 weeks, there's like, oh, we've got this new battery formula. Oh, we've got this new battery formula. It's insane. You can't predict what's coming down the pipelines next. This is an incredible race. So now that we're seeing nickel coming back into the battery space, that just adds more demand. So hopefully that supply will stud. Well, hopefully the supply will languish in the future, and that just gives value for Manibridge. But in the short term, yes, we're going to segue into SourceRock. We're going to explore for the lithium component of it. And the lithium, so Metal Energy was formed specifically for the purpose to explore for the battery or for the battery metal components. So lithium was never out of the question. It's just Manibridge came along as basically one of our first projects. We loved it right from day one. We saw a huge potential there. That potential was realized after the drill program, and now there's so much open potential at Manibridge. It's crazy. It's open on strike. It's open at depth. We understand the structural controls there. We're pretty confident that we can find more higher grade zones. Just we need to get the share price up higher and fund it properly. It would be great to have both SourceRock and Manibridge active at the same time throughout the years. That's what we want to achieve. We don't want to sit there and be like, okay, well, you're the discarded child for now. You're the love of my life, and then do a swap. No, we want to treat them both as they are. They both deserve a lot of love and attention.
I agree. I also think that you have some results pending on Manibridge now. Is that the case or not? There's nothing.
Everything's up.
Okay.
Everything is up.
Well, then I'm missing something. Okay. Well, it's challenging. I mean, what you do is, in my opinion, in my eyes at least, very challenging. Like running one exploration company in a regulatorily challenging environment with local population, to be mindful of in extreme weather conditions and all that. Any time when the market liquidity has and is still drying up, it's challenging running one company. You're running two though, and you're taking on a new project. So I guess a more direct question would be to ask you to explain to me how you're going to split your attention between the two companies. So you have baseload, which seems to be sort of your baby, but this is also supposed to be your baby because you're as much the CEO of this company as you are the CEO of baseload. So what is the split here? The ratio, is it 50-50, 60-40? What am I looking at?
50-50, variable though. Sometimes baseload requires more attention than Metal Energy, sometimes vice versa. But the good thing is, like, I've got a lot of support. I've got tons of support. Baseload, we've got an amazing technical crew here in Saskatoon. They're all up in the field. They plan the drill programs. I'm basically not a geo anymore, which is great. So there's a lot of support, and then I pull some of those people away when the baseload field season's done, throw them onto Metal Energy here and there. We're also trying to get some people for Metal Energy to, again, really ramp up SourceRock, but to put more time and more concerted effort into it. And on the back end of things, like we've got the Ore Group Toronto office, Stephen Stewart and the group back there, again, highly supportive, very, very helpful in providing me with a lot of support that I really need moving forward. So they make everything much easier. If I were doing this on my own, I would be failing, and I would look gaunt and white and probably like a skeleton or something by now.
Sure. Yeah. It almost how I feel watching some of these share prices and some of these uranium stocks. So no,
I can't. That's one thing. I got to avoid the market. Market's good when it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. Just can't sit there and cry about it on a daily basis.
True.
All we can do is just do what we can on our ends, try to get the best results out possible, and results move companies.
Sure. No, I agree. There's one guy or gal or whatever on co.ca that says, James, test for cesium, whatever that is. It sells for like $70 per gram. So it's more expensive than some other white substances, allegedly. What are you going to be testing for cesium eventually on the project or
Yes,
not?
the full suite. Yes,
Hmm.
cesium, rubidium, tantalum, everything that's typically associated with lithium, boron, even. There's a lot of other elemental potential associations with these brines. So
Hmm.
yeah, we're going to test for the full suite of elements. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not exactly. We realize that there's a lot of metal potential, and if they're all on brines, then maybe we can set up a more than just a DLE. It would be like a DME, direct multi-element extraction.
Hmm. Okay. I think this, Stephen said something, Stephen, the chairman, Stephen Stewart, he said something online. It was something in among the lines of this is low cost, but high risk and high potential exploration with this project because you staked it for, there's a Flemish saying that says for an apple and an egg. So basically for nothing. And you're not going to spend too much money on it. So it's also high risk because nobody's drilled it, but it is high potential because if you find what you're looking for there, it does change the story. Do you agree with what Steven says there?
100%.
Hmm.
100%. And that's kind of what we've been looking for. We didn't want to find a lithium project that was in everybody else's backyard that you can't distinguish yourselves from amongst the pack. Like that's what we did with baseload. We came out, we went into the Athabasca, which again, you're in the same neighborhood as everyone else, but we came out with a different story and
Hmm.
it's worked and it's proved successful. So we were always looking for the same thing here with metal energy, especially on the lithium front. We wanted to find something new, unconventional, exciting, with again high potential. You look at a lot of these lithium companies, and they've got 100 million market cap companies. If we prove successful here, and we're at 5 million right now, if we can hit the same market cap, we can be a 20x return on investment at today's levels.
Hmm.
So that's you want your potential, you want your potential payout and reward. That's where it exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
The,
No.
the
Well.
salt's already guaranteed in the burn. The salt is already there. It's
Hmm.
just a question of what's in that salt. Is it just sodium, or is it sodium with potassium? Is it sodium, potassium, and lithium? We know there's potassium because of the silvite veins that are forming in places. So again, we know there's sodium, we know there's potassium. Is there lithium that nobody has sampled for?
Hmm. Okay. Do you think it's realistic for you to drill it this summer, like August, or is that too quick?
Too quick.
Too quick.
Consultation comes first and foremost.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like they're not going to move within a month. All five of them. That's not how they move. No. Okay.
Yeah, it's difficult to arrange everything. Things do take time. So yeah, we're patient. We're good.
Sure.
Project's not going anywhere. We just staked it. Let's make the right moves. Let's make sure everybody's happy before we bring the drill on site.
Well, but what about news flow? I mean, if you're talking about share price performance, that's what people want to see. You know, they get excitement
Yeah,
on you picking up the project, but then excitement is going to go away if the market is not moving. There's no and there's no news flow. Excitement might
we
go away.
we've got sufficient historic work to assemble and put together, and to continuously have news flow out at least monthly.
Okay.
There again, it was explored in the 50s, explored in the 70s, or in the early 2000s. We know the drill hole results. I'm planning to go out to Thunder Bay next month, August preferably. Yeah, not July, August, and just look at some of the core. We'll take our own samples. We'll do our own investigation, looking for some foreign lithium species that may have formed from brine.
Mm.
We can find those, then we know for a fact that we'd have lithium in the brine, and then drilling would just prove success after that. There's a lot of historic work that needs to be done, and we will be steadily putting that news out to keep the momentum going.
Right. Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah. Do we want to risk ourselves? Do we want to put the company in a jeopardous situation where we expedite the drilling for the sake of our own share price without doing proper consultation?
Mm. No. So that makes sense. Yeah. Well, make
It
sure
is
to
what it
take some
is.
pictures at least on the project.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Pictures, videos. Yeah, we'll definitely keep things. This is very cool. I want to show the world how cool this project is.
Nice. Nice. Good stuff, James. I think I'm all out of questions. I think I went through most of the important stuff. I guess anything else that I'm forgetting, but you wanted to talk about?
I think we covered a lot of bases. That's really good questions. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this. This was sort of a short notice. I saw it. I don't follow metal energy that closely, but I like moves like these. So yeah, thank you for doing this.
Well, thanks, Antonio, for having me. Always a pleasure, man.